1990s was the decade muscle died. At least that's what they wanted you to believe. Safety regulations had won, insurance companies had neutered the beasts. The EPA had declared war on horsepower, but while the world mourned, engineers in Detroit were building something terrifying in secret. The muscle car was coming back, meaner and more dangerous than it had any right to be. Today we're counting down the 10 most dangerous muscle cars out of the 1990s. Machines that proved American performance wasn't dead, it was just getting warmed up for a fight. Number 10, 1992 Dodge Viper RT10. The Dodge Viper wasn't trying to be civilized. This was America's middle finger to everyone who said muscle was dead. Wrapped in fiberglass and powered by an engine that had no business existing in a street car. An 8.0-liter V10 producing 400 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Quarter mile in the high 12 seconds. Top speed past 160 miles per hour. But those numbers don't tell you why the Viper was dangerous. The 1992 Viper RT10 arrived as a roadster with no roof, no windows, no traction control, and absolutely no apologies. No anti-lock brakes, no electronic safety nets of any kind. The side exit exhaust could literally burn your leg getting in. The interior was hostile by design. 2 seats, a steering wheel, 3 pedals, 6 gauges, nothing else mattered. The steering was unassisted, requiring genuine physical effort to maneuver. This wasn't a car you drove casually. The Viper demanded respect every single second you were behind the wheel. Snap the throttle mid-corner and the tail stepped out without warning. No computer would save you. No electronic nanny would intervene. Dodge built fewer than 1,500 first-generation Vipers, most in Viper Red. The proportions were cartoonish. Endless hood, pushed-back cockpit, stubby tail. Everything about the design screamed excess and danger. The Viper was dangerous because it gave you all the power and none of the help. When you got it right, the experience was transcendent. This was raw, unfiltered driving when everything else was getting softer and safer. The Viper proved American engineers could build a supercar that embarrassed Europeans while terrifying its own drivers. Number 9, 1991 GMC Cyclone. Sometimes the most dangerous machines make no sense on paper. GMC took a compact pickup truck, strapped on a turbocharger, added all-wheel drive, and created something that embarrassed Corvettes at stoplights. The 1991 Cyclone shouldn't have existed, but that's exactly why it became legendary. The 4.3-liter turbocharged V6 generated 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. The all-wheel drive system put every bit of that power down without drama. 0 to 60 happened in 4.3 seconds. 4.3 seconds in 1991, when Corvettes needed over 5 seconds to do the same thing. Let that sink in. A pickup truck was faster than America's sports car. The quarter mile fell in the low 13-second range. GMC built exactly 2,998 Cyclones, all finished in black with red accents. The truck sat low on specially tuned suspension that had nothing to do with hauling plywood. Inside, leather seats and full instrumentation reminded you this wasn't a work truck. This was a weapon disguised as utility transportation. The Cyclone proved muscle didn't require big displacement or traditional V8 thunder. Turbocharging and all-wheel drive could deliver brutality that conventional approaches couldn't match. This was engineering creativity at its finest, building something faster than cars costing twice as much. Today, clean examples are serious collectibles, commanding prices that would have seemed insane when they were new. The Cyclone remains the answer to a question nobody asked, but everyone should have. What if we made a truck that humiliated sports cars? Number 8, 1996 Chevrolet Impala SS. The full-size sedan was supposed to be dead, killed off by SUVs and minivans. Then Chevrolet dropped the Impala SS like a bomb on the market, proving that 4 doors didn't mean boring. The 1996 Impala SS arrived dressed in murdered-out black, sitting low on 17-inch wheels, looking exactly like an unmarked police car with an attitude problem. And that's precisely what made it dangerous. Under that long hood lived the LT1, a 5.7-liter V8 borrowed directly from the Corvette. 260 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque, pushing over 4,000 pounds with authority. 0 to 60 happened in 6.5 seconds. Quarter mile disappeared in the low 15-second range. The 4-speed automatic shifted aggressively, feeding power to a limited slip differential that could light up both rear tires on command. But the real danger wasn't just the speed, it was the anonymity. In black with minimal badging, the Impala SS looked completely innocent until the light turned green. Soccer moms drove Caprices that looked nearly nearly identical, but this wasn't a caprice. This was a weapon in a suit. The interior featured bucket seats, a console shifter, and white on black gauges that glowed with purpose. The steering wheel was thick and leather wrapped, purposeful in ways that separated this from ordinary family sedans. Every detail reminded you this car had a mission beyond carpooling. Chevrolet built roughly 41,000 Impala SS models across 3 years, making them special but not rare. Today, clean examples command serious money from collectors who understand what they represent. This was the car that proved muscle could wear a suit, that 4 doors could deliver legitimate thrills. The Impala SS was dangerous because it looked responsible right up until the moment it humiliated you. It was the ultimate sleeper, the car that made people question everything they thought they knew about sedans. Number 7, 1996 Pontiac Firebird Formula. While the Trans Am grabbed attention with screaming chicken graphics and aggressive body kits, the Formula was the subtle killer lurking in the shadows. The 1996 Pontiac Firebird Formula delivered nearly identical performance in a significantly cleaner package. This was Pontiac understanding that sometimes the most dangerous predator doesn't advertise its presence. The LT1 V8 produced 305 horsepower and 335 pound-feet of torque. The 6-speed manual transmission had short throws and mechanical precision that made every shift satisfying. 0 to 60 arrived in just over 5 seconds flat. The quarter mile passed in the mid-13s at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. The Formula's aerodynamic nose and functional hood scoops weren't just for show. They channeled air and reduced lift at speed, making the Formula stable and planted when lesser cars started getting sketchy. Inside, the digital dash displayed speed and RPM with pixelated graphics that somehow still looked purposeful. The seats were deeply bolstered, holding you firmly through aggressive cornering that would throw passengers around in normal cars. The leather-wrapped steering wheel provided excellent feedback, communicating road texture and grip levels directly to your palms. The shifter had that satisfying mechanical feel. Each gear change was accompanied by a solid click as the synchronizers engaged. This was a transmission that rewarded smooth, deliberate inputs and punished sloppy driving. Pontiac offered the Formula in colors like bright purple metallic and polo green metallic, but the smartest buyers chose subdued shades, white, silver, or black. Without the Trans Am's cartoon graphics and excessive body kit, the Formula looked almost innocent, like a sporty commuter car that someone took care of. The Formula proved you didn't need a screaming chicken on your hood to run with the fastest machines on American roads. Sometimes danger comes in subtle packages, waiting patiently for the right moment to strike. Number 6, 1997 Chevrolet Corvette C5. The C5 Corvette arrived for 1997 as a complete revolution, not just an evolution. Everything was new, everything was better, and for the first time in decades, the Corvette could legitimately compete with European sports cars on every metric that mattered. The LS1 V8 produced 345 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, numbers that told only part of the story. The real breakthrough was in how Chevrolet packaged everything. The C5 used a rear-mounted transaxle, putting the transmission in the back for perfect 50-50 weight distribution. 0 to 60 took 4.7 seconds. The quarter mile passed in the low 13 seconds. Top speed pushed past 170 miles per hour, but straight line performance wasn't the point. The C5 could finally handle like it had the power to back up. The suspension used composite transverse leaf springs, a Corvette tradition, but with completely modern geometry that delivered balanced handling without punishing ride quality. The steering was quick and communicative, finally giving drivers the feedback they'd been demanding for years. The chassis was stiffer than any previous Corvette by massive margins. This meant the suspension could work properly, keeping tires planted through corners that would have overwhelmed earlier generations. The C5 carved through turns with precision that shocked European competitors. The C5 Corvette was dangerous because it removed all the excuses. No longer could people dismiss the Corvette as just straight-line muscle. This was a complete sports car that could run with anything from Europe while costing half as much. Chevrolet had finally built the Corvette they'd been promising for decades, and it proved American engineering could deliver world-class performance when given proper attention and resources. Number 5, 1992 Dodge Stealth RT Turbo. The Dodge Stealth RT Turbo was Detroit's dirty little secret, a Japanese sports car wearing an American badge, proving that sometimes the best way to win is to borrow someone else's homework and put your name on it. Under the skin, this was a Mitsubishi Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, same twin turbocharged V6, same all-wheel drive, same active aerodynamics, but Dodge sold it for less money and with different styling that somehow looked more aggressive. The 3.0-liter twin turbo V6 produced 300 horsepower and 307 pound-feet of torque. Numbers that don't sound intimidating until you remember this was 1992. 0 to 60 happened in 5.2 seconds. The quarter mile passed in the mid-13s. But the real story was how it delivered that performance. All-wheel drive put power down without drama. Active aerodynamics adjusted the front air dam and rear spoiler based on speed. Four-wheel steering made the Stealth feel smaller and more agile than its 3,800-pound curb weight suggested. Dodge built the Stealth to compete with Corvettes and Japanese imports while offering technology Detroit couldn't match on its own. Pop-up headlights, aggressive ground effects, and wide haunches gave it a presence that turned heads. The Stealth RT Turbo was dangerous because it combined Japanese reliability and technology with American marketing and slightly lower prices. This was muscle reinvented through engineering instead of displacement, proving that forced induction and all-wheel drive could match V8 thunder. Today, clean examples are increasingly rare. The complexity that made them impressive also made them expensive to maintain, but those who understand what the Stealth represented recognize it as a legitimate performance machine that proved American brands could adapt and adopt when necessary. Number 4. 1996 Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. Chevrolet built the Grand Sport to honor the legendary 1963 racing Corvettes that never got their chance to dominate. Only 1,000 were produced. All were special, all were collectible from day one. The Grand Sport started with the LT4 engine, a modified version of the LT1 producing 330 horsepower and 340 pound-feet of torque. The LT4 featured improved heads, a hotter camshaft, and better breathing. Every Grand Sport came with the 6-speed manual transmission. No automatics were offered. 0 to 60 happened in the low 5-second range. The quarter mile passed in the high 13 seconds. But straight line performance wasn't the point. The Grand Sport was about the complete package. Admiral blue paint with white racing stripes and red fender hash marks created a color scheme that instantly identified the Grand Sport. Black Grand Sports with the same stripe treatment offered a more sinister appearance. Both are now iconic. The suspension was upgraded with stiffer springs and better damping. Wider rear wheels and tires provided improved grip. The Grand Sport sat lower than standard Corvettes, looking purposeful and aggressive even standing still. Production was split between coupes and convertibles. The coupes were lighter and stiffer. The convertibles offered open-air driving with serious performance. Both are highly sought after today, commanding premium prices at auctions and private sales. The Grand Sport was dangerous because of its exclusivity and capability. Buyers knew they were getting something special, and that knowledge encouraged spirited driving. This was a Corvette built for enthusiasts who understood what the Grand Sport name meant in Corvette history. Number 3. 1999 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra. 1999 should have been a victory lap for Ford. Instead, it became a scandal that forced the company to issue recalls and offer buybacks. The 1999 Cobra was supposed to deliver 320 horsepower from its 4.6-liter DOHC V8, but when magazines started testing them, something was wrong. The performance numbers didn't match the promises. Motor Trend got 13.8 in the quarter mile when they should have seen mid-13s. Car and driver couldn't break 14 seconds. Ford had a problem, a very public, very embarrassing problem. Independent dyno tests revealed the truth. The 1999 Cobras were producing around 280 horsepower at the wheels, suggesting flywheel power closer to 300 than 320. Ford had overpromised and underdelivered on its flagship performance Mustang. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Enthusiast forums exploded. Magazine articles questioned Ford's credibility. Owners demanded answers. Ford's response was unprecedented. They issued a voluntary recall, reflashing ECUS and making modifications to bring power closer to advertised numbers. They offered buybacks to dissatisfied owners, and they promised the 2001 Cobra would more than make up for the embarrassment. But here's the thing about the 1999 Cobra. Even underperforming, it was still a capable machine. The independent rear suspension provided excellent handling. The Tremec T45 5-speed manual had tight, precise throws. The brakes were strong and confidence-inspiring. The 1999 Cobra was dangerous because of what it represented. Corporate hubris meeting enthusiast expectations and coming up short. It proved that in the age of the internet, manufacturers couldn't hide performance shortfalls. Customers would test, measure, and call out discrepancies. Today, properly modified 1999 Cobras with the ECU updates are solid performers, but they'll always carry the stigma of that first scandal, a reminder that promise promises in the automotive world need to be backed by actual performance. Ford learned hard lessons from the 1999 Cobra, lessons that made their subsequent performance cars better and more honest. Number 2, 1999 Pontiac Trans Am WS6. The 1999 Pontiac Trans Am represented the absolute pinnacle of F-body performance before General Motors pulled the plug on the entire platform. Everything that was good about the 1998 WS6 got better for 1999. The LS1 V8 now produced 325 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque with improved consistency. Quality control had tightened. The bugs were worked out. This was the Trans Am at its most refined while remaining completely raw. 0 to 60 consistently happened in the mid 4-second range. The quarter mile passed in the high 12 seconds at speeds exceeding 110 miles per hour, but the numbers only told part of the story. The LS1's power delivery was intoxicating, smooth, linear, and relentless. No sudden surges, no flat spots, just continuous acceleration that pinned you to the seat and rewarded you for keeping your foot planted. The Ram air system continued pulling cooler air through the functional hood scoop, adding power while creating that distinctive intake howl. The exhaust note remained one of the best in the business, a deep rumble that rose to a mechanical scream as the LS1 approached redline. The 6-speed manual transmission was precise and mechanical, short throws, positive engagement, and a clutch that was firm without being punishing. This was a transmission that rewarded proper technique and made every drive engaging. The WS6 package included upgraded suspension with stiffer springs and better damping. The result was a Trans Am that handled twisty roads with surprising competence while still providing reasonable ride quality on the highway. Inside, the deeply bolstered seats held you firmly through hard cornering. The gauges were easy to read. The controls fell readily to hand. This was a driver's car that didn't sacrifice usability for performance. The 1999 WS6 Trans Am was dangerous because it made serious performance accessible and affordable. For around $30,000, you got a car that could run with machines costing twice as much. That value proposition encouraged aggressive driving and pushed limits. Pontiac built these knowing the F-body platform was ending. The 1999 model year represented the culmination of decades of refinement. Everything GM had learned about building affordable performance was poured into these final Trans Ams. Today, clean examples command strong prices. Enthusiasts recognize the 1999 WS6 as the best iteration of the 4th generation F-body, the model that got everything right before the platform disappeared. Number 1, 1999 Chevrolet Corvette Fixed Roof Coupe. The most dangerous muscle car of the 1990s wasn't the loudest or the most powerful. It was the Corvette that combined genuine supercar performance with everyday usability and a price tag that seemed almost reasonable. The 1999 Chevrolet Corvette Fixed Roof Coupe, or FRC, was Chevrolet's parts bin special, combining the lightweight structure of the convertible with a fixed hardtop and the upgraded drivetrain components. The result was something extraordinary. The LS1 V8 produced 345 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, the same output as other 1999 Corvettes. But the fixed roof coupe was significantly lighter than the standard coupe, shedding weight through the elimination of the targa top mechanism and associated structural reinforcements. The result was a Corvette that weighed just over 3,200 pounds, making it the lightest C5 variant and giving it the best power-to-weight ratio of any production Corvette that year. 0 to 60 took just 4.4 seconds. The quarter mile passed in the low 12-second range at speeds exceeding 115 miles per hour. Top speeds stretched past 175 miles per hour, making the fixed roof coupe one of the fastest production cars available at any price. But the straight line speed was only part of the story. The fixed roof coupe's lightweight structure and stiff chassis made it the best handling Corvette of the C5 generation. Chevrolet offered the fixed roof coupe in a full range of colors, but the most popular was black, which emphasized the aggressive proportions and made it look like a stealth weapon. Production numbers were limited, making the fixed roof coupe relatively rare compared to standard coupes and convertibles. The danger of the fixed roof coupe came from how capable it was, how easily it could reach speeds that would terrify you in lesser cars. The performance arrived smoothly and predictably, making it easy to get in over your head before you realized how fast you were actually traveling. But the fixed roof coupe also provided the tools to handle that speed: strong brakes, responsive steering, and a balanced chassis that stayed composed even at the limits. The 1999 Corvette Fixed Roof Coupe was the most dangerous muscle car of the 90s because it made supercar performance accessible and easy. It could run with Ferraris and Porsches on track, then cruise home comfortably on the highway. It could embarrass exotic cars costing 3 times as much, then park at the grocery store without drama.